Hey, what's up? What's going on? My name's Kyle. Thanks for stopping by to check out the Beginner's Guide series here on my channel, Arena Hacks. This series is all about helping people get started, earning their first few cards in MTG Arena for free or on a budget, and how to grow your collection and tips and advice that I give for everything like that onward. If you're not new to MTG Arena, I have lots of other videos on my channel that are great for people of all kinds of experience levels. So go check that out if you're not too new to the Arena and you're finding my channel. Otherwise, if you like what you see, go check out my Patreon page and any other affiliations I have down in the comments and see if there's any way you can support the channel that way. Also hit the thumbs up and subscribe if you like anything I just said about the channel. And it's also free ways to support the channel by hitting those buttons. So please do that if you like what you see. Today's video in this Beginner's Guide series that I'm doing is all about deck building. So it's going to be a little bit more for people who are new to Magic the Gathering in general. Or maybe some people who have not played it in maybe 10 or 20 years. The game has been around that long that there are people like that. So if you're rusty or you're brand new to the game in general, this video will really help you get those first few, build your first few decks that just help you improve, especially if you're struggling, you're building, you're trying to make some decks, and you're having trouble winning. This video should help you a lot with that. So, the way I've decided to do this is I have a bit of a list. It's kind of like rules. I do this because they're not really rules. Eventually you're going to learn that you can break them and when to break them, but that'll be something more advanced as you play the game more, as you build decks more, and you get used to that and you become more advanced of a player. You will then learn when it's acceptable to break these rules and how and why. So to start off, I have number one, have a deck plan. So what do you mean deck plan? Well, basically you ask yourself, how am I going to win? How is this deck going to win? So there's lots of things you can come up with. You can look through cards. Sometimes you see a good rare that you have that has a certain ability and you want to build around that. So take Righteous Valkyrie, for example. He comes free with the green and white life gain deck that we all get awarded during those first few challenges when we start out in Arena. So that's a free rare that we can build around. That life gain ability and the ability to give +2/+2 to the entire field of creatures that we have is actually very powerful. So let's build an entire deck around that. So that's what I mean, have a plan. Have something, a way of winning. You know, you're going to make your creatures powerful. You're going to play a lot of creatures, gain a lot of life. They're all going to get very powerful because of Righteous Valkyrie's ability, and you're going to attack in and just kill your opponent. It's not the greatest win, like, it's not a bad one. I mean, all aggro decks work like that. This has life gain tied to it, which is also a powerful defensive mechanism. But there's lots of other ways to win too. You can, sacrifice your creatures to, play a bunch of little creatures to clutter up the battlefield and stop your opponent. Sacrifice them to get card draw or kill your opponent's creatures and control the game. And then win by playing your own bigger bombs later. That's the style of a black control deck from the sounds of it to me, or maybe Rakdos. But let's stick with the white-green example, life gain example for now. That's a great beginner deck, and it's really powerful when it pops off. Number two, have the correct amount of cards. What I mean by this is don't play extra cards, or at least try very hard not to. For example, in Standard, it is 60 cards is what the deck size is supposed to be. Now you have Limited, which is 40. And then you have Commander, which is 100, right? So you do have different play styles where you do have different amounts of cards that you're supposed to have in your deck. And these are usually minimums, like a minimum. You can go over those cards. Not in Commander, you have to have exactly 100, I think. But yeah, like, don't go over. Don't try to add too many extra cards. You're trying to do something, right? Number one, have a plan. You have a plan. You're trying to do something. By adding more cards, you're actually distracting your deck from achieving your desired goals and your actual plan. And this can be hard sometimes because you're adding cards that are really good and are going to help you achieve your deck plan, but it's like, what do I remove, right? What do I take out to keep my card number low at the minimum that I need instead of going over that, right? And it can be tricky, so that's something to pay attention to. That's number two. Number three, have good cards. Basically what I mean is, this doesn't mean rare cards. Try to have cards that fit in your synergy. We're talking about life gain in this example, right? So try to have cards that work with that. I mentioned the sacrifice kind of control deck. I mentioned that earlier. So make sure you have creatures that give you something when they die, that give you card draw, or give you a treasure token, or do something, let you learn, or whatever, right? You know, this creature dies, it does something. That's great. That's a great creature for you to sacrifice. You're getting value from it dying. You're getting value from whatever spell or ability you're sacrificing it to, right? So that's all good stuff there. So if we're looking at life gain, we're going to be like, how do we gain life? How do we benefit from gaining life, aside from just making it harder for our opponents to kill us because our life total's higher, right? How do we gain more benefit than just that, right? Stuff like that. So it's not necessarily just rares, just things that work together with your plan. That's like good cards, right? Next on the list, remember the mana curve. So you want to make sure that you're always playing stuff, right? You always have low mana spells that work well and synergize with your high mana spells, so you can be doing something throughout the game. And you know, you're not just sitting there waiting 4 or 5 turns where you can't play anything. And if you get a hand, an opening hand, where you just happen to, it's cards, right? Shuffle, it ends up the way it is. Sometimes you get all your expensive mana cards and you can't cast anything for 4 turns. Well, you might want to mulligan that hand and try to look for something low value. But if you don't have anything like that, you're forced to keep a hand every game that's going to take you 4 turns to play something. That's often a rookie mistake. This thing's great, but it costs a lot of mana. I don't care, it's really powerful, let's put it in. And then you don't put anything low mana because they're weak, and then all of a sudden your opponent plays all these low mana stuff, they get a good board state set up early, and then you're just too slow and too way behind the curve, and they just take over the game. And anyway, so that was number 4. Number 5, have the correct number of lands. Now this is pretty awesome because MTG Arena does have the auto land tool, so that is really great for helping to control the land. It's pretty good. You do want to interfere with it sometimes, depending on what your average mana cost is of your cards, and that's something to pay attention to. That's what this list is all about. When you build a deck, you kind of look at the list, or you remind yourself of certain things, and you set everything up, and then you go back and you look at the list, or you look at your deck list, compare it to this list that I'm giving you, and then you say, you know, am I meeting this, am I meeting that? So correct number of lands, yeah, it's depending on what your curve is, like, you know, like what your average mana cost, basically, which says in the program. Number 6, though, is always have some interaction, even just a little bit. What do I mean by interaction? If you don't know what I mean by that, it's basically spells or abilities that allow you to directly interact with stuff that is on the battlefield. So spells like fight spells, we're looking at white and green for our life gain decks. So you have enchantments in white that sometimes even creatures that allow you to exile your opponent's permanents, non-land permanents. You have fight spells in green. These allow your creatures to fight, force your creatures to fight your opponent's creatures. Usually you cast those when you're ready for your creature to win and not die from the fight. So it's a form of removal in that case, right? So removal is definitely a big part of interaction. But there's all kinds of other things too. Combat tricks, where you attack in, they're instant speed, so you wait for your opponent to block, and then you go, trick, you thought your creature was going to live this fight, but now I boost mine all of a sudden, and I win, right? That's also interaction, right? So you need to have some interaction, even if it's just a little bit. I think that was 6. Yes, it was. Number 7 is reevaluate your deck and make adjustments. Get playing the deck, get going with it, and if you're finding it's not working out good, pay attention. Like, why? Why are you losing? What is it your opponent's doing? You know, that's causing you to lose. How are they getting more? Are you just not drawing enough of this? Are you sitting around for too long and not hitting? Like, have you missed one of these checklists? Are you just sitting there for 4 turns, not able to do anything? Maybe you need to lower your mana average. You know, ask yourself these things. Why did I lose this game? What happened? What did I need to draw? How many of those cards do I have in? Maybe I should boost some. Maybe, you know, sometimes it is just bad luck. And sometimes when you evaluate, you have to be honest with yourself and kind of accept, yeah, that was bad luck, or not just dismiss everything as bad luck though either, and then say, well, no, I could use more of these kind of things, or I need more interaction, or, you know, something like that. So now I've already showed you guys how to use and build a deck in some of my older beginner's guides videos. So I've showed you all this, how to start this and set this all up. I'm going to keep it in this list view here just because this is how I like building a deck. And we're going to run through this life gain deck, this green-white life gain deck really quick just to kind of go over those points and show you what I mean. So first of all, what's our main thing? We're trying to gain life. So let's just type in life in the search so we can filter out things like we're starting to get life link things, life gain. Here we go, clear class. This is a really good spell for a life gain deck. Uncommon, maybe you don't have them, maybe you have enough uncommon wild cards to unlock the rest of them, maybe you can only do 3. This is just an example video. I do have already done a life gain or a lifeline upgrade to the one that the deck that they give you pre-constructed, so it uses very few common and uncommon wild cards and doesn't use any rares or mythics that you don't already have that are given to you when you complete those early challenges. But continuing on with this deck, we're gonna, oh look, this is some more life gain stuff. I like this. It's a creature. Whenever other creatures enter the battlefield, we gain life. There's a strong argument for Dawnbringer Cleric, but I'm gonna go with other things here and say, because you actually have interaction there too. You can destroy an enchantment. You can exile a card from a grave. You know what? I'm actually gonna put 2 of these guys in here because that actually sounds really good. Now, the reason why I'm not putting 4 in, that's just because I've playing this game a lot and I'm used to it, and I know I'm like, it's good and all, but there's a lot of better other cards, so I don't want to go too many because I want to get those other cards more often. I only want to see this guy every now and then, and if I have him in my hand, I might want to hold on to him for a while until I'm having trouble gaining life. I can gain 2 life. My opponent plays an awesome enchantment, I can destroy it. Stuff like that. So I probably won't even be playing him that often. Unless it's like, I can gain life with him. We'll get to that later. Here we go. Hallowed Priest, this guy's really awesome. So now we have something that gets bigger and stronger as we gain life. So we've got life gain here, life gain here. A guy who gets bigger from life gain, lots of life gain, and this amplifies our life gain. Plus, when we level it up, we can make any of our creatures get bigger with additional life gain. Now, because we're going green in this, I'm going to skim past Impassioned Orator, but he is really, really freaking awesome. So if you're going mono-white life gain, which might be a little more simplistic, but I'm going to go green and white just to, again, help kind of just teach by example and how you can balance your mana afterwards and stuff like that. So I'm going to go Prosperous Innkeeper. He's basically the same kind of guy who has the same kind of ability, but he also creates a treasure token when he enters. He's a 2-mana 1/1 instead of a 2-mana 2/2, but that treasure, that's where you get your extra value. And then, like I said, he has that same ability that the Impassioned Orator does. Something I'm starting to notice already. Anybody see it? We've got all these creatures, all this life gain, but we don't have a single piece of interaction yet. And I see this nice Devouring Tendril sitting right here in front of me. So we're going to add a full set of that in. Not only is it life gain, or can potentially be life gain, but it's also removal, a form of removal. Somewhat of a fight spell, not really fight. It's more of, it's just deal damage. So there's no actual, our creature's not getting damaged by the creature we're trying to make it kill, right? So there's something to be said there. I'm going to avoid some rares. Inscription of Abundance is great to add 1 copy of because I know you guys all get this during those beginners challenges and you're unlocking all those free decks in the beginning. This does appear in, I believe it's the Lifeline deck. I'm not too sure about that. Either way, I know you get at least 1 copy of it, but I'll avoid that stuff for now just to kind of get the main idea of how to balance and try to synergize your deck. So I'm not actually going to play it either just because we should have those rares in there. Any rares that you can find. And I know I said earlier, not just rares, but we're talking specific ones like Righteous Valkyrie, which I even mentioned that has life gain. In fact, let's go check that guy out, right? Because I know you have 1 copy, so let's throw a copy of him in here. I know you guys, when you're done all your challenges, you will have at least 1 copy. So let's throw him in there, right? So then we got even more life gain and more ways of growing and pumping our entire field with that life gain. So I'm thinking more interaction. We need more interaction. How are we going to get that? Well, I know of a good enchantment. Now, you might want to just snoop around to find this stuff. Again, me, because I have been playing it a little while, it's easier for me to think of some things off the top of my head and be like, oh, that would be really good. That would be really good. You get some Minimus Containments. Those are actually pretty good too. A little bit more powerful, and maybe you don't have the uncommon wild cards for it. It is just uncommon. but I consider it more powerful because you're not giving them a treasure, so you're not giving your opponent any value. Where is it? It's 3 mana, I know it is. There it is, borrowed time. So I'm going to add a full set of that in there. Now we've got 8 interaction in the deck as current. Actually, we have a little bit more interaction because we do have that Destroy enchantment from Dawnbringer Cleric. On that note, you know what? I just changed my mind. I'm going to throw a full set of them in there. Why not? Why not? Keep in mind, we have 7 cards remaining in the deck. So at this point, let's stop and reevaluate kind of where we are in our list and what we've got here. So let's go click this, take a look at some stats. 1.9 mana average. Wow. We have 24 lands and still, so we might want to cut a few just to maybe add a couple extra cards. We've got 17 creatures to 12 non-creatures. We do want to win with creatures. That was the plan, right? We want to play a lot of creatures, gain a lot of life, make those creatures big and strong from the life gain, and then attack in, right? So we do have 7 cards remaining, so let's just see what we have and what we're missing. We have ways of growing multiple creatures and gaining extra life with the Cleric class. Later on, getting a creature out of the graveyard too. Life gain with a creature here. More life gain with a creature here, slash enchantment interaction, slash graveyard interaction. This guy gets bigger. Interaction, removal, more life gain. So that's 8 creatures with life. Actually 12 if we include the Dawnbringer. Hard to exclusively say life gain or interaction because he's very versatile. He can do pretty much, yeah, he's got all those abilities he can do. So I went through that already, yeah. More interaction, and then here we have life gain and ways of growing. So something I'm noticing is we don't have a lot of ways of making our creatures bigger. I mean, we do have the clear class, but we do also want more creatures. So again, something that I know of, and you'll probably recognize this creature from the life gain deck, is Trelisara. So let's throw a set of her in there. She gets bigger. You get that scry, so you get to buff the top of your deck a little bit. Don't underestimate getting extra scries here and there. And yeah, so that's a really good card. Now we're looking pretty balanced on growing our creatures bigger with the 2nd level of Cleric class, the Hallowed Priest, and the Trelisara. We have interaction with 4 borrowed times, 4 devouring tendrils, lots of life gain with the veteran, Lunarch Veteran, the Prosperous Innkeeper, as well as the Dawnbringer Cleric. We have ways of amplifying our life gain to help keep us alive when we can't block our creatures, or our opponent's creatures, I mean, or something like that. So it increases our life gain, plus gives us those extra +1/+1 counters when we're able to level it up even further. So we're getting to the point where it's like, we've got everything fairly well balanced. We do have some interaction. What do we do next? Well, we have a low mana average, and I mentioned we should maybe cut some lands if it's going to be so low. So let's try to find something a little higher in mana and see if we can work it into the deck. This is where I might go into some rares. Again, I'm going to go off memory of, you know what, let's throw, because we are life gain, let's do this again, right? And so we're going to look through. We already got the Righteous Valkyrie in there. Here's a good one, Attended Healer, 4 mana. I'm going to add 2 copies because she is high in mana cost, but that's a really good ability. We have creatures that gain life when a creature enters the battlefield. And the first time we gain life each turn, we get a cat creature, which is going to trigger the creatures that gain us life because the creature's entering the battlefield under control, and we're gaining more life, and we'll see how this goes, right? Plus, we also have that ability to give a Cleric life link until end of turn for 3 mana at instant speed. This guy's a Cleric, this guy's a Cleric, this guy's a Cleric. He's not a Cleric. She's a Cleric. He's a Cleric. And she's a Cleric too. What? Like, Prosperous Innkeeper is the only non-Cleric in the deck, so that ability is basically going to work on every creature we have. Going on, let's take a quick look at what our average came up to 2, so it's not super high yet. But another good card. If we go up, here's another one I know we get in the Lifeline deck, so we can throw that in there. And there's another green card. I'm not sure exactly which beginner's deck it comes in. It's green, and it's going to be great for card advantage and card draw. 1 copy of Toski. We have 61 cards. Uh-oh. What did I say about that? You don't want to do that. Even 1 card. Let's find something to cut. We just added Toski. What do we take out? I'm going to say Trelisara. And the reason I say that is because our mana curve, our average, is still super low. We still have 24 lands, so we should be okay on that. And the reason why I say Trelisara, as powerful as she is, we're swapping her out with card draw engine, right? If we read Toski and what he does, he's a card draw engine. Helps us when we attack and do damage. And we do want to be aggressive with this deck because that's our win con, right? Attacking with powerful creatures and winning. So Toski will help us get extra card draw when we attack and do damage, and that will help us find our 3 remaining Trelisaras, and we can also scry with them to help buff the top of our deck to improve the quality of card draw that we get with Toski. The other reason behind this is we have 4 copies of a legendary creature, Trelisara, and you know, we can't have 2 of them on the battlefield at the same time. If we have one on the battlefield, we can play our second one. The program will, are you sure you want to do this? You have to choose one to die. You say yes. It enters the battlefield, which case we trigger all our life gain from our creatures that when a creature enters the battlefield, you gain life. So we're triggering that because we do have a legendary creature entering the battlefield. It'll say choose which one to keep is usually, I think, pay attention to what it says, the one you're keeping and the one you're throwing away, right? So you want to make sure you keep the one that's already got a bunch of counters on it, not the one you just played. Let that one go to the graveyard. And you just played it just to get those extra triggers, but that's not ideal, right? Because we want to play a creature and get a creature, right? We want the creature to stay on the battlefield, right? And with this legendary stuff, we can't do that. So we're going to drop 1 copy of Trelisara to increase Toski, which is also legendary, but when you start out, you only get 1 copy of them anyways, so there's no worries about that. And there we go. 60 cards, got a deck. I think it looks really great. And for the last step in this in that list is to evaluate and make adjustments. So for that we have to go do some gameplay. And like I said, there's a lot of, I try to mix it a little bit better. I do have a video for it, for Lifeline especially, and all the beginners decks, those dual color decks that they give you for free when you do those introduction challenges, I guess we could call them. So, and it'll be a little better than this one. This was like a quick throw together, so I can show you guys what I'm talking about. With all those things in the list, of course. So let's go take a look at lands, go mix lands here. So I know we get a bunch of these to start off, so fill them all up. Notice the auto lands, we're still at 60 cards. It adjusts our basic lands for us. And if we take these all out and pay attention to it, you look 14 plains, 10 forests. We add 1, it takes away a forest. We add another, it takes away a plains. Another forest, another plains, right? So it's detecting that this is going to give us any color out of the 2 colors we use, and it's just evenly going back and forth between what it takes out. So here we got a branch loft pathway that we're going to add because, again, this is another rare. We're only going to add 1 copy because I know we all get 1 free copy when we unlock the Lifeline deck, and I think that's pretty good. So what do we have? 5 cards to help balance our mana. What did the auto thing do? 7 forests and 12 plains. So if you go back here, 7 to 12, 7 forests, 12 plains. That looks pretty good at this ratio here. I think that looks pretty, yeah, pretty good. Now, if you have the rares, you can go more overgrown farmlands from the new set. In fact, I highly recommend this. If you're just getting started, anytime after September of 2021, you're going to want to focus your rares. If you're trying to get better multicolored lands, you're going to want to focus your rare wild cards on overgrown farmland, because already looking for a full year into the future when next rotation happens, these lands are going to rotate out and they're not going to be in standard anymore. These lands are going to stay in standard. So this is why you want, at this point in the time, you want to be focusing more on your wild cards, more on these lands, and then maybe these a little later if you have the wild cards to spare and you're having trouble with the mana balancing, then yeah, go for these. Last year I was saying, yeah, go for these. They're going to be around for 2 years. They're not going out next rotation. So yeah, really go for these. They're great. Now I'm switching to these, and that happens over time. I'm getting a little off topic though with that. Back to the deck building stuff. I think we're pretty much done. Like I said, you do want to try to add more. And if you do find yourself having trouble and struggling, there are other commons that we can use, and I will show you them now, of lands to help balance our mana colors. Evolving Wilds, so many sets, they're almost always valid in standard. They keep getting reprinted forever. Here we are in Innistrad, which means it's not going to rotate next rotation either, so it's going to be around for a whole 2 years to come. It's been around for 1,000,000 years already. I don't think Evolving Wilds is going anywhere, so it's a great card for new players to help balance their lands. And yeah, you just play it, you sacrifice it, you thin your library too, because later in the game you don't want to draw lands, you want to draw spells. You have enough lands on the battlefield, you want to draw spells, cast them against your opponents. So Evolving Wilds actually really helps with that. You're playing a land, you're drawing a land, playing it, sacrificing it, getting another land out of your library, and playing that out. Well, you're just getting it directly on the battlefield. Either way, you know what I mean, right? So you're taking that land out of your library, making it less likely that you will draw another one, making it more likely to draw more spells and more things you need to kick your opponent's butt. Another one, it's not going to survive next rotation because it's Kaldheim, but another great common is Shimmerdrift Vale, especially if you're trying to get the snow synergy because it is a snow land. It doesn't thin your library, but it works much the same as the Evolving Wilds. The Evolving Wild gets you a tap land. This is a tap land, and when it enters the battlefield, you choose a color, and you get to create mana of that color. So it literally fixes mana for anything, because it can create any color you want it to. Pretty freaking awesome right there. The other way is treasures. If you can find treasures with spells and creatures that create treasures and certain effects like that, also another great way to fix mana. So I'm going to go back to decks. I'm going to discard one because I have life gain decks already, and that was just an example to show you guys. So there we go. I hope you all learned something if you were struggling with your deck building, and I hope you can apply some of these techniques here to help improve your deck building experience in the future. If you did like what you saw here, please hit the thumbs up. Subscribe to the channel, go check out my other beginner's guide videos, or if, like I said, you're more advanced, you want to go check out some of my other videos. I've got, all kinds of stuff going on this channel, so go check that out too. Thank you for watching. Go check out my Patreon as other ways to support the channel, and I'll see y'all at the next video. Cheers.